Well, it's actually quite interesting how I actually got joined the center. It goes back, maybe in a strange way of half a circle. I started off as a scientist. I got very much involved in science, and I always wanted to be a researcher. And over time, what actually happened was um, through some deviation, some external intervention, I actually got into very involved in the AIDS pandemic that happened in the late 80s, early 90s, particularly in Africa, and it was started to spread in Asia. At that time, I was in Malaysia. And my involvement got very, very heavy because it became more of a humanitarian issue, and I was trying to, address the stigma issue. And so much so that, as you will all probably know, that the AIDS issue became so big to the point that people were associating that particular virus with a certain community. um, and because I'm cisgender male, my association to help the community to help in trying to save people's lives branded me as part of the community, and people thought I was also having AIDS, which made me realize, how fragile and how shallow people can be, and it then also invoked in within me to realize that, I was discriminated. I was actually marginalized, just like any other person who was going through that situation. I mean, me as a colored person, I was already going through a lot of issues with regard to being brown, but this added to it, and I suddenly realized that there are many intersectionalities, many layers to being discriminated consciously and subconsciously as well. But also what happened was I moved into the whole space of a nonprofit world. I left the research world and moved into a nonprofit world where I got into WWF, was very much into the conservation element, joined Amnesty, took a big role in a lot of work there at a global level. And because of my global experience, this job came along with the center, to which I was very, very interested, and I applied for it. And I think one of the things that I brought to the table was the fact that I was quite clear where I wanted to take the organization. My global network was there. I knew where the direction I could say, and I was also somebody who has the experience and knowledge. I don't consider myself a DI practitioner, but I definitely say I'm on the other side where I could be someone who has been, in many ways, experienced the whole issue. So I have stories to tell on this matter. So that's how I got into joining the center. Okay, so right now, based on what I've understood from how the center has gone over the last 5 years, and incidentally, this year is the 5th year anniversary since the center has been established. I can see there's so many things happening globally, and every country has its own unique issues that are going on. One can't say that one country is the same in another part, and so what I can see is for us as a center to be the voice for a lot of these countries, to also to bring together a lot of these issues that are happening in different parts of the world into a single platform that people can actually refer, contrast, compare, have conversations, as well as for the fact of pushing the agenda of the mission, which is all about education and research. And we all know that evidently when we try to make a case and we try to bring conversations to the floor, especially in debates or arguments or discourses that have contrary views, being educated in this whole area, as well as having the research evidence, is of primary importance. And I see this is where the center can make that difference. Right now, we are at the stage where we do have some tools, but we need to move further because things are moving very, very fast.
Thank you for that, Sudeep. So, how would you explain DEI to non-practitioners? And maybe more importantly, how should we be thinking about it in our daily life?
So that's a good question. How do I explain DEI to non-practitioners? Well, let me give you a situation. Supposing you're walking into this park and you see in front of you many beautiful different kinds of flowers out there in striking colors and different patterns. Immediately it catches your attention. And when that catches your attention, what it really is because of the diversity that's out there in its different forms. And that's the beauty. That's the diverse element of all the different forms of it. It could be the orchids, the hibiscus, the frangipani, whatever it is. But the point is, there's so much diversity in colors and form. And they come in fragrance, they come in, different ways of how they actually express themselves. And then you have the element of equity, because when you actually go in and look at them on its own, you may say some may be growing from a pot, some may be growing from a soil, some may be coming from a tree. When you look, some may be actually watered, some may not be watered, some may be in the shade, some may be in the sun. And then you start to ask yourself, within this diversity, on the same tree itself, on the same plant, there's an element whereby some flowers seem to bloom better than some don't. Some are given the more respect in terms of how much light they're getting across, and some are not. Some are watered better and some are not. Some are plucked and some are not. And so you begin to realize, is there some element of equity between different plants? Are some given more attention and some are not, just because of the colors? And then you have this element whereby the inclusion part. As much as we're looking at all these beautiful plants, we're forgetting the green. We're forgetting the leaves that come with it. We're forgetting the tree that is behind that, that's actually supporting that. And so are we just looking at the beautiful flower and forgetting that there are leaves behind that? There's a beautiful tree behind that. Are you bringing that into the foray of your conversation and your discussion when you see the beauty? And so this is how I would explain it to a person who's a non-practitioner, to understand. And if you put it in the context of people, or even animals for that matter, it's the same thing. You see all the beautiful colors, you see the wonderful talents, you see the fantastic experiences. And now how do you judge that? I mean, we always look at the number one, but always remember somebody could be number one. And that's because there's a number two. Otherwise, how are you going to be a number one? So it's always important to understand that there are the people out there that make you who you are, simply and never exclude them. So the issue is about the fact that we come with certain elements as human beings, and two of those things that are very important is the fact that of our consciousness, and the other part is our ability to discriminate, and that is something that sets us different from animals and plants. The fact that we are conscious about our surroundings, what is out there, and even if no one teaches us, we know what to do, or we have an idea of what to do, get out there. Survival instincts are a little bit more ahead of our time, although our senses may not be sometimes as best to the possibility of comparing to an animal, but we are conscious. We have the conscious of knowing what's right and what's wrong. We are able to actually reflect back. Our memory level is much higher. So that is very important commodity of us. The second thing is the discriminatory element. We're able to discriminate. We know what is right, what is wrong, what is up, what is down, what is good, what is bad, what color differentiates it from another. And what's happening right now is because these are so powerful tools, we are not able to actually understand how to use them in the best possible way. Or many times we use them in a more very abusive way. And that means if we want to be conscious about something, for example, we are sitting in a room, everyone's talking, we should be conscious of the fact that maybe there's one person out there who's not talking. Let's bring that person into the discussion. Or if you've written something, let's be conscious of the fact that maybe it's important to get another perspective. And then at the same time, the discriminatory element, we should be able to say, okay, should we do it or should we not? Can we do it now or can we do it later? Those are the things to me that are missing in always in this conversation. We don't understand about our consciousness and we don't listen to it very much, and we're not able to discriminate properly. Many times people say they have discriminated properly and maybe they've made the right conscious decision, but that could be based on the fact that either from an environmental perspective, they've only seen one side of the story, they've been very homogeneous to the environment, or The very fact that, they don't see what you're saying. It's like asking a fish, can you see water? It's very hard for a fish to say they're in it. They don't see it. And so that's what I mean. Sometimes we don't understand what's happening around us. And so we have to take a step back. Right now, the issue is complex it goes into the people's lifestyle. I mean, at one point, if you go back in time, if people were infected by certain viruses, they'll be marginalized. Leprosy, AIDS, as you know, and now monkeypox has recently come out, and that's also putting people to pain. That's health. But now what's happening is people are now marginalized because of issues of immigration, economic perspectives, whether you're an urban person, whether you're a rural person, what school you came from, where have you been educated, your economic status in life, the kind of job you hold, your ranking in job, the kind of car you drive. Everybody is into this whole element of discriminating everybody against everybody, and whether you belong to my club. And this becomes a lot more difficult for the newer generation that's coming on board, who may not have all the privileges and benefits. And let me give you an example. If you are a female of color, and you, as it is, you're already having a challenge because of the fact that others are getting a little bit more privileges. But supposing you're a female of color, but you're disabled, and you may be queer, and you also the fact that your economic status is not up to there, you're a single mom, and your health may not be good. Can you imagine the challenge that person is going to go through in life? Simply, and this becomes very, very difficult for just one person. Now you multiply that for millions. People just get separated. I mean, already decisions are made to insulate certain groups from others. And so I'm hoping that with our efforts as an organization, where we move forward to educate and to offer research and to bring the GDIB and to do the things that we want to do for the strategies moving forward, we can elevate this consciousness among people to realize that we can make a difference. All of us can make a difference. The next time we want to make a decision about something, realize that there's someone else. Like, I go back to my point. We look at the beautiful flowers out there on the garden, but we forget about those green leaves. It's quite natural for us. We just look at the so beautiful flower, but we forget about the leaf. But not knowing that that beautiful flower stands out because it's among those leaves. If it was just on its own by itself, we may have missed it. So I think it's important that our level of consciousness has been, and I think through education, through awareness, through a repetition of information that goes out to make people realize that just a singular change in their perspective can make a difference. And this is heading out to a lot of the leaders out there, future leaders, and the young generation that's coming out from today, from schools and from colleges out there. So first of all, I'll just put a disclaimer here that GDEIB is a tool that's been set as a benchmark. It's happened before my time. It started in 2006. It took several years, 5 years, 2011, then we moved to 2016. There was another revision, 17, and then in last year in 2022, we've had 2 revisions. The most recent revision is in April of 2022. Sorry, April 2021. And the GDIB was initially set up by the who we refer to as co-authors, Alan and Julie O'Mara, who sit with the board. And now Julie has actually just left. Alan will be leaving very soon, stepping down from the board very soon. But they are founders to the center, as well as the co-authors. The other co-author is Nini Molifi, who is also, so we have got 3 co-authors to the GDIB. The whole GDIB on its own was taken from already a set standard that was established, and that's going back into history, and it was actually used to actually address the issues at that time about how the future would be in terms of DEI matters. And then what happened as it moved from 2006 to 2011 and then 2016, was building itself to actually address all the DEI issues. And its momentum at that time was moving quite slowly, but moving well. But after George Floyd and a lot of the destruction of statues and a lot of the issues that came about in 2000, during the George Floyd period, the GDIB suddenly took off. A lot of attention was given to it. And so what exactly is this GDIB? Well, basically, it was done by 112 expert panelists across the globe, sat down together, gave their time, resources, volunteered to actually give the expertise to how they see the global perspective, the global perception to how DEI issues should be benchmarked across the globe. So individuals, organizations do take this tool and use it. We have it on a website available for people who can actually download it. Their checklist, their guidelines. There's a whole array of buffet of material for people. The whole GDIB on its own is, if I've forgotten to mention it, is basically the global diversity, equity, inclusion benchmarks. But and that's why it's more better known in terms of its GDIB. I think that it has within the GDIB something like about 235 benchmarks. It's got 5 areas to evaluate. It starts from the inactive and most goes on to basically the proactive. There are basically many categories that it looks into, from community to compensation to the vision to structure. There are many elements that it looks into. And it's a tool that is basically being used for organizations to set themselves and rank themselves against where they are now, and then build themselves forward. And it's something that is widely used globally. Yeah. So the whole idea of the GDIB is to offer the opportunity for individuals and organizations to actually have something they can actually make a reference against, to see where they are evaluated when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right now, at the time when it first started, there was no such reference point. People could say just by saying that you met a certain quota, 30% maybe are women, maybe 40% from this community, and it was going on that basis. But really, it was not looking at the details in terms of DEI issues, going in terms of looking at whether your vendors are coming from a diverse group, or are you basically, in terms of your team, are you looking beyond the fact that you just have a group of decision-making? Policies have been addressed, procedures have they been also addressed. So there are many issues that go down to the brass tacks of how you manage an organization, need to be looked into. Right now, the GDIB has evolved so much to the point that it's used, and in fact, it's even metamorphosized to a point where many organizations are channeling it to customize to their own organization. In fact, many people are now quoting it in the books that they've written. It's now able to actually help others build other tools and move forward. In the future, we are looking towards actually setting up our own digitized GDIB, and also to offer certification in GDIB. The digitized element of GDIB is where right now the offering we have is in PDF form, and we want to actually make it more available online. We want to make sure that the users are able to form a community online. They're able to do things on the go. They're able to actually put the information digitally using the technology that is available. We currently have a platform. We currently have a partner. We're working towards it, but we need funds to actually support this. Similarly, with the GDIB, when it comes to certification, there are many people who say they love this whole tool that's out there. But the point is, it would be much better if they can go out, because they were involved in the whole process, to be certified. And if you say you're certified in GDIB, people take cognizance and will actually take you on board to help organizations get up to speed when it comes to the complexities of GDIB. I must state here that the GDIB is not something as a quick fix. It's something that is very rigorous. It takes time, but if you really get into the details about it, it does bring a transformation to an organization. Well, already there's the fact that I'm here in this position. I'm sitting in this position as a person of color. I come from Malaysia. I'm sitting and holding the position as Executive Director of the Center for Global Inclusion should immediately speak volumes. The very fact that the board have recognized me and for the talent that I'm able to bring, the experience I'm able to offer is already should speak volumes. And for that, I'm grateful for all those people who are involved in the recruitment process to put all those things aside and see who is best for it. And I'm sure I am definitely was selected among a variety of amazing talents, no doubt about it. But I just want to say that this is one of the elements. The second thing I just want to say is the fact that the future is bright because we're talking about it. That conversation is happening. People are now putting it to the floor. It's on the social media. Whether people want to avoid it, it's there in front of them. It may come in different words, in different forms, and different colors, but the point is it's there now. People are talking about it, and that is a great start. And once upon a time, it was never talked about. People are afraid to talk about it. It was considered a sensitive issue, but now it is. It's out there. The question now is, it's hard to suppress it, so because people need to talk about it and people need to bring it up. We need to move into the next line where decisions are made so that we talk less about it and make it mainstream into our society. It has to be mainstream in our consciousness. That means the moment we start doing things, we should do it as a natural way of a process. It should be just a mainstream thought. It should not be something that, oh, by the way, I forgot. Oh, is it part of my checklist? No, it should be there in the thought. That's going to take a while, but I'm seeing it now change. I see under the business community, they're making strides and efforts. I can see that in the education system, strides and efforts are happening to make that difference. I like to see it happening a lot more in communities, a lot more homogeneous. I like to see policy decisions in immigration to make these changes. And I think that conversation is already happening. I think people are already talking about it. And that for me is wonderful. This is the exciting period now for the center. For a long time, a lot of people thought about the GDIB, and now we're having a renaissance of the center coming up to speed and bringing its prominence up forward. And my role here is to make sure that people know that beyond the GDIB, we have the center that is now tackling 4 strategies. The first strategy is basically about us actually looking at the global presence and making a local impact. And what I mean by that is for us now to establish ourselves by having a presence out there in the globe. To be truly global, we need to not be speaking from one part of the world. We need to speak in all parts of the world. And so having ourselves look into building chapters in different continents is a very, very important part of going to be of our work coming soon. Discussions already way, it's already in our plan. The other element is for us to raise our level at a global level, and that means be at meetings and summits to make change. That means we're looking at our presence at Earth summits, at the Davos meetings, at the World Economic Forums. We want to be there in that presence where such conversations are happening. Or if they're not, we want to make sure it is there. Because only when you have it in those conversations, it trickles down and percolates into other conversations and people take it up into mainstream media. So that's a very powerful element that's happening. We already have we have the strategies already laid out. It's been approved by the board. This is the first strategy, and it's led by one of our board members. The second strategy we're looking forward is basically our renewed sustainability. And what that means is basically that we need to build our brand. And right now, the center's brand is such that the research has shown that it's a lot more associated with the GDIB, but we need to build our brand to be known as our uniqueness in terms of DEI. One of the things that we bring as a center is the fact that we have a global network. Our global reach is there. People from all over the world want to be associated with us. We hold webinars that come forward from people from different parts of the world. Our newsletters, research from different parts of the world. So we offer a very truly global essence in terms of DEI. So strategy number 2 is about renewed sustainability. And that's for us to sustain ourselves over the next 3 years, 5 years, in order to get the work done. And what that means is we're going to be conducting events, activities. We'll be having functions, forums, where we're going to link up the fact that our brand is going to grow, but also we're going to increase our fundraising. And that's a very key element to our organization, because only when you build a fundraising and sustain ourselves, we can do a lot more for the globe. And that could even include offering scholarships, offering opportunities for people to look for jobs, helping people to actually address the DEI aspect. And that's very important and key. The third thing is about our strategy is about the GDIB itself, and we're calling it GDIB 3.0. And what that is all about the fact that we now have realized that a lot of people are using the GDIB, and I mentioned earlier about the PDF. It's a PDF version. We want to digitize it, and we also want to offer certification. But beyond that, we want to build a community of users as well. People all over the world are using the GDIB in different ways, but we want to bring them together. And we want to actually have them have a conversation and compare notes about issues that are going through, some of the plus points, some of the negative points, some of the issues that can make a difference, and learn from each other from different parts of the world. And to make that happen, we call it the GDIB 3.0. We've jumped from 1 to 3 because it's important that we need to bring the people beyond just the form itself. And so that's also being led by another board member. And the last one is about our uniqueness and valueness, is strategy number 4, where we're trying to address the human rights issues of DEI. We want to link up with human nonprofit organizations that are advocating and building policies on DEI issues. And that means linking up to the mental health institutes, touching on psychologically safety, and also human values. So it's very much at the individual level. And so that's another key element that we're looking at, and we want to push that agenda, because at the end of the day, it's all very well that we are trying to address at a global level, but we also realize at the end of the day, at an individual level, it equally matters. And if you can push an individual matter, the ripple effect will certainly grow to a lot more bigger. And so these 4 strategies are our pillar for the next 3 years, from 2022 to 2025. And right now we are looking to people out there, all of you, who can actually help us by either volunteering into our efforts, offering whatever material you have, either through your articles, your podcasts, information that you feel that are valuable. And we also welcome in different languages, as long as you're able to also show some information in English, in its dubbing or in subtitles or in a transcript, because that's our default language, but we welcome other languages. And also from the aspect of fundraising, we are serious about fundraising, and I know all nonprofits are looking at it, but remember the fact that we are trying to help you. So the more you give us, it's not about something that you're giving and it goes towards something else, that, for example, a furry animal, or saving the catchment area, or, for example, ours is a little different. Ours is, the more you help us, the more you're going to help your society, your community, and the fact that every little thing will count. You'll be able to be part of that process. I remember a story whereby I was going through with someone about looking at pictures, and while I was just looking, every picture seemed the same to me. But this person pointed out the fact that, all these pictures actually are different, and said that, do you recognize the fact that all these pictures are only showing the person's right hand? And I was totally startled. I said, it didn't occur to me. And he said, that's we are actually marginalizing the people who are left-handers here. And so just on simple issues like that matters, because the person who's left-handed will recognize it. The person who's not will not. So these are the things we want to do to make sure people are a lot more conscious about where they are. Yeah. So right now we're going to the end of the year 2023, and we are very seriously looking to raise enough money so that we can push our agenda for 2023, and that's about seeking contributions, financial contributions, so we can sustain ourselves. One of the things I've sent emails to a lot of our people who are followers out there is about our digitization certification. I mentioned this many times, but I just want to make that we are looking at something like about $200,000, so that $150,000 to actually get our GDIB certification starting for, and $50,000 to get our digitization starting. We're also seeking about $200,000 to help us in our management. Right now, I'm a one-man show. I do have the help of very, very powerful, very, very talented supporters, vendors, consultants, and volunteers. But I'm looking also to build the team, and it is if you're looking at a truly global element, we need to build our management services a lot more. And so that's an area, and I'm looking for about 200,000 to keep us going for the next 1 year.